Hello and welcome to episode 267 of Sutton Impact Family Style. I'm Jason.
I'm Bill, and it's like Game 7 weekend.
Very much so.
Really enjoyable. I watched the Lightning win last night in their Game 7. I'm looking forward to the two Game 7s today in the NBA. And as I talked to Jason offline, I'm actually going to what I believe is my first Game 7 ever. We have to check it out because we were at a deciding game in a Knicks-Pacers series in the late 90s or early 2000s.
Yeah, the finger roll Patrick Ewing game.
Yeah, I don't know what year that was, and I don't know if it was a game. It was a deciding game. We just don't remember if it was a 6 or a 7. But I'm going to the Suns Mavericks tonight, and I'm looking forward to a phenomenal game. And I guess on the plane on the way out, I'll get to watch the Celtics and the Bucks, which I think has been the best series. One of the best. They've both been great series.
Yeah.
Both of those have been great series. But that's been a fun one to watch.
Well, Chris Paul, and we'll get to another historically bad playoff player, but Chris Paul, I think, is either 2-3 or 3-3 in Game 7s in his career. But they're at home. He's got Booker, he's got Ayton, he'll have the home crowd, and the other team has Luka.
And Luka's been unconscious.
Yeah. Been absolutely incredible. And Dinwiddie played well the last game that they needed. The Mavericks were down 0-2, and it looked like it might be a sweep or a gentleman's sweep, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And they have just battled back. I think, psychology-wise, I assume that, the Mavericks are playing with house money, as they say.
Yeah.
I mean, they've kind of established they've done everything they needed to do, and, they're going against the 1 seed at home, and they've taken over Game 7. I mentioned Chris Paul does not have the biggest history of, playoff success. He doesn't harden it, but he's not been stellar. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, if I was betting, which I'm not going to do on this one, I think I'm picking the Mavs.
Yeah, you picked the Mavs last week. You picked the Mavs in 7.
Yeah. And I think I'll stick to it. I think just picking the best player in the series, and I think that's Luka.
Yeah, it's going to take. I mean, if he gets any help at all, that's what he needs help. I mean, he's just like in that Celtics last game. I mean, Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown both had over 20 in addition to Tatum's. 46?
Yeah.
That made the difference there.
Especially because Giannis put up another 40.
That can step up and do different things.
And
I was glad to see Marcus Smart have a bounce-back game after that atrocious ending that Game 5.
Yeah, that was not a very good last 5 minutes of a game for any player.
No, not for any player.
Especially when you're...
bounce back, it was good to see.
Yeah. But that series, home court has just not mattered at all.
No.
Which is kind of shocking because they both have really good home courts. Both in the Garden and then Fear the Deer in Milwaukee. But it's been...
Yeah. And while we say Fear the Deer, talk about the Deer District. The Deer District is now shut down because of the 3 shootings after the last game, which is
just tragic.
Really sad. It's a sad commentary. It's a sad commentary on how people behave, and it's a sadder commentary on gun control where a moron can get a gun.
Mm-hmm. Very, very sad.
It's just sad.
Who are you picking in that game?
I'll be rooting for the Penguins tonight in Game 7.
Who are you picking in the Bucks game, though?
And hopefully that Crosby can play tonight. I'd like to see him be able to play.
Yes, very much so.
And Jason and I were talking about this offline. It's worse in the NHL, but I haven't liked the NBA officiating either. And, but the NHL, you have a stick, and you can take a guy out with a stick.
And they do.
I saw it happen last night with Braden Point in the Lightning versus the Maple Leafs game. And he's one of the better players, and he went out with 6 minutes gone in the second period and was unable to return. And to me, if you're going to do that, fine. But the guy that inflicts the damage should be out for as long as it takes that player to come back. And I know people say, oh, you're a wuss, or that's playoff hockey, or that's hockey. You have a stick, and it's just not right. Use a stick for the puck.
And there's playoff hockey and physical hockey, and then there's whatever there's a different level to it,
And then that shot on Crosby's head to give him a concussion. I mean, that was deliberate, and that was not just a game changer. That was a series changer.
And that's
I mean, it's 3-1. Now it's 3-3.
and obviously Crosby has a history of concussions, and you do that to someone, you could literally be taking years off their lives or a quality of years off their lives. So
Yeah,
it just
and I can't believe there wasn't even a penalty on that. That to me is atrocious.
terrible. Well, speaking of terrible,
Well, we got the Florida Panthers, the number 1 seed, did survive the first round,
true.
and we'll see where they go. I mean, that's the best win-loss team in hockey. So we're going to have the battle for Florida now in the next round, the Florida Panthers and the Lightning. And that's going to be making people in Canada go crazy to see 2 good teams in Florida playing for advancing the Stanley Cup when 2 Canadian teams get knocked out.
Well, they had their shots.
Yeah. I felt really, I was excited that the Lightning won, but I watched the Leafs, and I mean, it's 5 years in a row they don't get out of the first round. And they haven't won since the 60s.
Yeah, it's very sad.
So it's a proud franchise in a major market. That city would go absolutely nuts if they won the Stanley Cup.
But not happening this year.
No.
Well, let's talk some Philadelphia 76ers basketball, because
Let's talk it.
Fascinating.
Go ahead, you lead it.
Well, I mean, Embiid just seems like somewhat of a tragic figure because, again, he's in the playoffs playing with a broken orbital bone, the concussion, the bad thumb, and his tragically bad back and legs that, have already just plagued him his entire career. But, I mean, you go back a couple years ago to the Kawhi 3 bounce shot that knocked him out of the chance to go to the finals. And this year, he loses the MVP to Jokic, which, I feel like Jokic either won it or Giannis won it. I didn't think Embiid was MVP either way. But now he's sitting there with yet another teammate, another coach on the hot seat. And I just don't know where you go. Like, if you're the GM, what do you do with Harden?
Well, I don't max him. I probably have to eat the contract for the next year because it's a player option, right?
He has a player option for $47 million next year, and he's eligible for a 5-year, $250 max, or $250 million, not $250.
There's no way I sign him to a 5-year contract. There's no way I sign him after this year. I mean, I think his skills have eroded. I don't think he's anywhere near the player, and I just don't think it's like Kyrie. Can you count on him? Can you count on him? I mean, that's a big question. I mean, the way he played the second half of that last game, taking one shot in the second half. I mean, that's not what you brought him there for.
Sloppy passes on offense, no defense.
Him there to score.
No rebounds.
No, but you brought him there to score and then to take a shot. So, I mean, listen to the talking heads, and if you listen to Stephen A., which I hate to do, and I hate to even quote Stephen A., but Stephen A. thinks they were playing to get Doc Rivers fired so they could bring in Mike D'Antoni.
But they came out and said, Doc Rivers is our coach. We're bringing him. I mean, they were very emphatic about that.
No, I saw that. But, I mean, just the conversation.
Yeah.
If the people were thinking that way, I don't know.
Well, Harden.
I think Doc Rivers is a good coach. But, and he tried. I mean, those guys just didn't want to play.
Well, what do you
mean? Those timeouts and when he was talking to those guys, they were not engaged except for Embiid.
And Maxey. Maxey played hard, just not very well.
Maxey.
But
Jimmy Butler kind of added an element of, fun to that. I mean, because, basically they chose Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler.
And a couple of other guys, but yeah.
Yeah. And, he made that decision look bad.
I mean, the main person they technically chose him over they chose Ben Simmons way back in the day over Jimmy Butler because they didn't seem to be able to coexist because Jimmy Butler's a dog and Ben Simmons is obviously the opposite of a dog, but not, I won't insult cats. I'm not sure what Ben Simmons is. But if you're hard...
He was mouthing, pointing at Tobias Harris, you chose him over me.
Yeah. But have you ever...
Butler, I love watching Jimmy Butler play. I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I mean, Jimmy Butler is just, when the game's on the line, he might miss it, but he's going to take it.
He is. Has there ever been in any sport that you can think of a superstar with as bad of stats in deciding games in the playoffs as James Harden? Like he's
Barry
got,
Bonds for his early part of his career, he was not a great postseason player.
but Harden is just. I mean, between that and literally quitting on the Rockets, then quitting on Brooklyn, and you could argue quitting on the Sixers in that playoff game. Like for a guy that was voted, top 75 player, top 50 player, people were saying, maybe greatest scorer of all time in the conversation with Jordan and Kobe. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, just a weird person.
No, and I mean, the 76ers have a dilemma. I mean, you got to pay this guy $47 million next year, which impacts everything you're going to try and do on the court, right?
Right.
But do you want this guy the way he just played for you? Do you want him on your team?
I don't think I don't. I mean, we'll see what the ownership says, but Daryl Morey seems like a very stubborn, very arrogant person, and I think he's been in bed with Harden for his entire career and just loves that dude, and like I don't think he wants to look like he lost this trade. I mean, I don't think the 76ers would have done any worse if they had kept Drummond and Curry and still had the draft picks. Even if you got nothing out of Simmons, I don't think you got anything out of Harden.
No, I mean, no. That trade didn't work out for either team.
No. But at least Brooklyn got Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, 2 first-round picks, and whatever Ben Simmons is.
Yeah.
Because again, you have a 33 going on 34-year-old James Harden who does not look like a guy that spends a lot of time training and taking care of his body, at least compared to where he is in his career. And I don't know.
Not at all. I don't know. I mean, I think it's going to be a big decision. I mean, financially, it's a mess. You can't really do anything. You've crippled yourself. So you really have no choice but to try and make it work.
And a signing, they were talking.
I don't know if Doc is going to be able to make it work.
I don't know if I'm Doc if I want to go back, if that's what I'm going back to.
That's a good point, too.
It's a very weird, and I was thinking because people have mentioned that besides obviously Embiid's love of Jimmy Butler and they've got a really nice relationship. Like Butler's obviously not coming back, but the one big name that's signed his supermax is now available to trade and could force his way out would be Bradley Beal. But I feel if you did a sign and trade that involved Beal and Harden, Washington wouldn't want more than you're gonna have.
Yeah.
Like even though Beal is not some future top 75 player, like I'm not giving up Beal for Harden. And you just gave away.
If I'm any general manager right now, I'm not going to take a chance on James Harden. I don't know what I'm going to get, just like I wouldn't take a chance on Kyrie.
No.
I mean, those two guys, they're very, very talented, but they've got issues.
But at least with Kyrie, he has proven he can play good in big games.
Yeah.
And then when he's on the court.
If he shows up for the big game, if he's mentally ready to play the big game, if he's not protesting something, if he's actually in the line.
But I know one guy, if he's on...
He's missed more games than he's played since he signed his contract.
Yes.
And he's missed those games for a lot of it for his own personal choice.
Yeah, and as people have pointed out, if it was literally just the COVID thing, if that was this year was his first time acting out, and you were like, you know what, he didn't want to get the vaccine. I may disagree personally, but I'll respect his, but if that was the first thing, but it's just been 4 years of who knows what. I need a vacation, I need this, I need that. And as people have pointed out, like as much as you want to have empathy and sympathy, and we want all those things in society, we need far more of it. That if you're a professional basketball player, getting paid the kind of, not to be the old man shaking his hand at the sun, but like, it's a pretty sweet gig.
Yeah.
And to just keep not showing up or asking for days off, it just, when you look at it, it's hard to get behind.
It is.
Like, I would worry, league obviously is doing very well internationally and everything else, but you just look at the way it is and it's like, from a branding standpoint, you wonder if at some point, the average American that's, struggling paycheck to paycheck is going to get even more frustrated and just be completely turned off. I know that seems like, but I've seen that sentiment coming up a little bit more and more where it's like, you're blessed with this great talent. People love watching you. Like, it's one thing to take off, 1 or 2 games a year for, health management, or maybe the NBA could work on their scheduling a little bit more, but the whining and not wanting to play when you get what you're getting, it's not a great look.
No, it's really not. It's really not. Well, let's project a little forward here.
Okay.
So we got the winner of Boston, Milwaukee playing Miami.
I'm probably being a prisoner of the moment right now, but as much as I enjoy, I like Heat culture.
I like Heat culture too.
Like, there's something to it. Like, those guys all play hard, and Spoelstra seems to really know what he's doing. Like, I don't think
Jimmy
the Heat...
Butler kept talking about Coach Pat too.
Yeah. I think the Heat would have a much easier time with Boston. Because I like the matchup with the Heat in Boston. Because obviously, not that anybody has anybody that can handle Giannis. But the one thing the Heat don't really have is size. And, I think they were fortunate that Embiid was not 100% Embiid and missed 2 games of the series. I'm not saying they wouldn't have won anyway, but, Bam looks like a guard next to Embiid. And Giannis is obviously, just an absolute beast.
I agree. I don't think anybody has an answer for Giannis. And I would have loved to see Giannis play Embiid.
Yeah.
That would have been the best matchup of big men we've seen in a long time.
Oh, yeah. But, I think one of the things, back to the Embiid MVP, in those last 2 weeks of the season, Jokic did an up and under, hit a last-second shot against him to win in Philadelphia against Embiid. And Giannis threw his shot out of bounds, like a big stuff, to win the game. So,
Yeah.
those are in the eyes of the voter when you went head-to-head with the 2 other candidates and they both got the better of you. But, yeah.
Okay, so you got Miami coming out of the East.
I think so.
And you've got the winner of Golden State. You got the winner of Phoenix, Dallas going to play Golden State.
I think the champion's coming out of the East. I'll say that. I don't love any of the West teams. Do you?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Okay.
I'm not ready to pick an NBA champion.
Right.
But I think Phoenix, Golden State could be a great series.
I think Dallas, Golden State. It's very sad. It's not. I guess somewhat predictable considering it's most of the past 3 seasons. But Klay Thompson is not Klay Thompson anymore.
Although he's had moments in these playoffs, and he keeps getting. It looks like to me he's coming along.
Yeah.
He's still not going to be the Klay Thompson he was. He stood up for 2 years. That's a lot to overcome.
It's a lot to overcome. I
like some of the other pieces. Wiggins has become a player out of Golden State.
Yeah, Kuminga's getting some minutes.
Poole looks really good.
On offense, yes.
I've always loved Draymond. Looney's back in the starting lineup, and he's rebounding really, really well. Whatever happened to the big kid from Memphis? Is he hurt again?
He's hurt again, yeah. He's been
He's been a disappointment.
He's been a disappointment, to say the least. James Wiseman is, not quite a bust yet, but we're going into year 4 next year, I think. And
at least year 3.
He's missed the majority of the games. When he's been on the floor, he's looked a little bit lost, which, he was raw coming out, but he hasn't been put, for an athletic big man, they thought it would at least be like DeAndre Ayton. Has been anything but.
Yeah.
I think, again, much like with my prisoner of the moment Heat 5, and they could end up losing tonight, and you watch, Luka go out the court, but I feel like I could see a Miami-Dallas final.
Which we've had before.
Yeah.
All right, you're at Miami-Dallas, and I'm not ready to call mine yet.
Okay. It's very understandable.
What I don't like about Dallas Dallas is if anything would happen to Luka, they'd get blown out in 4 games.
Oh yeah, definitely. And
And if
you
you
need
can lose, you can lose Steph Curry, and you can lose Chris Paul, and you can lose those guys, and somehow you still play. Like, I was very impressed at how well Memphis continued to play in the playoffs despite losing Ja. I mean, that was impressive to me.
they beat
But
Golden.
I've loved that team all year.
Yeah, I think part of my my hesitation on anointing Golden State is them losing by 54 points to the Grizzlies in a playoff game.
Yeah,
Like that's
without John Morant.
yeah, that's historic. Like, I mean, I know that if you're the Warriors who've been in the playoffs for it feels like a decade now of success, and maybe you just saw that it wasn't your week or your night, and you just sort of turned it off. But losing by that many points in a playoff game is crazy.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I'm excited about seeing this Game 7 tonight, so I might have some more insight to share next week on our show after I've watched one of these teams in person.
Yeah, I will say out of the Celtics, Bucks, Golden State. I mean, there's not a dislikable team among. I don't have anybody to root against anymore.
Yeah.
As I made clear, I'm not a Harden guy, so I was actively rooting against Harden. But any of the teams in the East left, any of the teams in the West left, I would be happy for any of them.
Yeah, I agree.
Because they all have players that I like. They all have I don't know. I'm very happy if any of them win.
Well, changing gears, my Oklahoma State Cowgirls yesterday won the Big 12 tournament to win the Big 12 tournament for softball and gave Oklahoma only its second loss of the year. Now, I don't think Oklahoma State is the better team. I think if they played Oklahoma 100 times, Oklahoma would win 90 plus.
Okay.
90 plus times. That's just one of the best teams I've ever seen Oklahoma softball. They just didn't have it yesterday, and unfortunately for them, it was a big game. But so my Cowgirls won. They should be a top 8 seed in the tournament. But I'm going to sit here right now and say I don't see anybody beating Oklahoma. Even last year when they were down one game, when they were in a 1-game hole in a best of 3, they came back and beat Florida State twice. So I mean, they've got everybody in the lineup can hit a home run. The one girl Alo is the all-time leading home run hitter in NCAA history. The team set a record for home runs. The team batting average is over 350, I think. I mean, they're just an offensive juggernaut. But it was fun, and I enjoyed watching my Oklahoma State Cowgirls win yesterday. So that was a nice lift for me. So yesterday I had that happen. I had the Lightning win, and both of those things I thought were good.
Nice.
They made me happy.
That sounds like a good day.
Yeah, it was a good day. And I'm looking forward to when I go to California the following week, not next week, then I'm going to get to see Otani and Trout one night. So I look forward to that as well. I mean, I love watching Otani this year. He's been amazing. And so last night he hit number 100 home runs. So he's only the second player ever to hit 100 home runs and strike out 250 people. We all know who the first person was.
We do.
Yes, we do. Babe Ruth. And so, I mean, that's rarefied air.
Incredibly
and
so.
As long as he doesn't get hurt. I mean, and the Angels look much better this year than they've looked in years. So I'm excited about what they could do. I'd like to have people get to see those players that live in the East Coast that rarely get to see them.
Well, I really hope they're in it down the stretch for once.
Yeah, I do too. And they threw a no-hitter this week.
Well, Dad, I have to tell you something else, though. The Penguins in the playoffs should be super exciting, right?
Should be.
Some incredible NBA action, including today. Very much looking forward to it. But you know what's the board story I was most excited about all week? A stupid non-story. The dropping of the NFL schedule.
Isn't it amazing? Let's talk about that for a minute. Isn't it amazing that during the NBA playoffs, right?
Right.
The NHL playoffs.
And great playoffs.
And great playoffs in both.
Superstars in both.
Could drop a schedule and get just as much attention and publicity, if not more.
And it's a schedule that we already, I mean, as a Steeler fan, I already know half the games going in.
All they were launching was
what day the games
when the games were going to be.
Yeah.
It wasn't who they were going to play.
No.
Because we knew that. It was going to be where they were going to play, who's going to be home and who's going to be away. That's all it was.
All it was. And like I said, I mean,
they teased it out and teased it out and teased it out. And did a great job. I got to give them a lot of credit.
Yeah. And there's already
kernel of the international game. Well, we already knew the international game. We just didn't know when it was going to be.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
But they do a good job.
But I mean, you know, Russ and Denver going into Seattle in week 1. You know, Chiefs and Chargers on a Thursday night in week 2. Obviously, you know, looking at my Steelers schedule, trying to pick out the wins I think are definitely wins. And that's, again, you know, I love the Penguins. They're in game 7 today. NBA playoffs, incredible. But the thing that grabbed me, and, you know, from Googling around on the sports talk show, people love NFL that much.
And you know what else they did? Gave you a real reason to subscribe to Amazon Prime if you don't already have it.
Yeah.
Because that Thursday night schedule is the best Thursday night schedule they've had in a long time.
It's fantastic.
So, I mean, just making sure they did a great job on that. So.
And again, NHL and NBA, not only have they been exciting playoffs, but stars in both leagues are doing incredibly well. And it still was, you know, the refinement of the NFL schedule. It's what had me the most excited. I can't lie. You know?
Yeah.
I got some
other thing that happened from the NFL Network, Kay, and I can't remember what her last name is.
Kay Adams.
Kay Adams, leaving the NFL Network with the speculation being that she's going to go to the Amazon Prime games, the Thursday night games. And I love her. I think she's awesome.
Yeah, and it sucks because they have that crew, I'm sure with Peter Schrager and those guys, they just have a nice chemistry for that Good Morning Football.
Do. Yeah. That was a really good show, and losing her is big, and she wouldn't leave unless it was something huge.
Yeah.
So if she's doing a show on Thursday night on Amazon Prime, good for her.
Yeah, it's great. Like I said, it's sad because, at one point, you know, the normal fourth chair on that show was Nate Burleson, who I love. He's gone.
Yeah.
And now Kay Adams is gone. And she was always like the consistent anchor of that show along with Peter Schrager and the other guy, I can never remember his name, but, you know.
No, I always liked them, but she was the steady point.
Yeah. She was there.
She was knowledgeable and she was fun. And, you know, I enjoyed her. So, but I know if she ends up on Amazon Thursday night, that'll be a big plus for Amazon.
And I know I read
and she deserves it, so good for her.
She does. And I read an interview with her. She's also interested in branching out from football into, you know, some other pop culture, celebrity culture type shows as well. So that might be part of her, you know, besides Thursday Night Football, which obviously she loves football. I think I read that she would also like to sort of branch out and do some other stuff as well. So again, good for her.
Good for her.
And we'll probably, because in this week, besides once the schedule came out, we're also 26 days away from my Dynasty Fantasy Football Draft. And I had trade offers yesterday. People were already sending them out.
So who do they want that you have?
Well, people want my number 6 overall pick for whatever reason. Because there's a couple people that have no first round picks because we got pretty fast and loose with the trading. And everybody wants DK Metcalf off my team. People are smart enough not to ask for Jamar Chase or some of the other players, but, you know. And my big addition, because we added 2 bench slots, I asked them to add a suspension slot, because I also have Jerry Jeudy, and the NFL becoming, you know, I figure there's got to be, you know, between Deshaun Watson, Jerry Jeudy, and who knows how many other people will be arrested in the NFL in the next few months, that
True.
You should have your bench, your injured reserve, and maybe 1 suspension slot, as sad as that is.
Yeah, it is. On the legally unable to perform list.
Yeah, exactly. It's a sad thing
that you should call it.
Yeah. Because a player, you know, it would be your player that, you know, is too good to drop, but you can't put him on IR when he's suspended. So it's just like, what do I do with this player? But again, I'm excited for fantasy football. I'm excited for the NFL.
Yeah.
But I'll still enjoy the rest of the playoffs, both NHL and NBA. It's just I just thought it was funny that did seem to be the story that, you know, amongst the Harden, Embiid, Luka, Chris Paul, all this excitement, and it was like NFL schedule.
It was just really well done how they did that. I mean, I got to give them credit. I mean, they have done the 365. And, we haven't even talked about this yet, though. They've got a triple header on Christmas.
I know, that's the NBA's day.
The NBA has a triple header.
Yeah.
And the NFL has a triple header on Christmas. So they are taking on, the NBA has owned Christmas Day for forever. Now the NFL is going to come in, and I'll guarantee you, those are going to be, they're going to match, when the NBA schedule comes out, you'll see some blockbusters on that day to go against the blockbusters that the NFL's throwing up. So really, really interesting to see how this is going to bear out.
Yeah. As long as your family is cool with it, it might be roll the second TV into the living room so you can, split screen them. I always thought the NFL just sort of bowed out, let their players have off Christmas Day, and then sort of gentlemanly agreed that the NBA could have that day. So it's kind of crazy. I guess it's, a lot of people are home, so,
Yeah. And I saw that somebody, was the NFL thinking about doing a Black Friday game now?
I don't hate that.
I don't hate that either.
Yeah, as much as I wanted to, I still miss the traditional just Sunday, Monday. Now that I've looked at this Amazon, part of it was probably I worry about player health and the quality of the games. When I saw that Amazon schedule, I was like, this is pretty exciting on a Thursday.
Yeah. And that was the most criticized set of games.
Yeah.
So I didn't look at the Sunday night schedule yet, and the Monday night schedule, so I don't know what it did for them, but that Thursday night schedule is big.
I will say from I work in the film industry, so I have some weird hours, but I kind of prefer the idea of staying up late to watch a game on a Thursday night as opposed to Sunday or Monday night, based on typically,
Mm-hmm.
But, more football is more football, so.
More football is more football.
Well, I've been watching a lot of dramas based on true crimes lately.
Okay.
First, I'll give a shout out on Hulu to Candy, which is Jessica Biel. Justin Timberlake is actually in it. He's pretty decent.
I'm going to give him credit. He's decent in everything he does.
He really is. He was good on Saturday Night Live. Like he's a multi-talented person.
Yeah.
And he's over 6 feet tall, and he doesn't even suck at basketball. So just yay, Timberlake. But Candy is based on this incredible true story of a case from the 1980s. And it's definitely worth watching. They do a really nice job of editing it in a way that's kind of unique, where it starts out with the murder, but then it sort of cuts around, and you're trying to figure, and it teases it all the way up. And I don't want to give too much away, but the murder does involve an axe and 41 hatchets and a crazy, crazy defense that does work. So, and I think it's only 4 episodes. And it's really well done. And like I said, it moves really quickly. And then for, I think, the 3rd time now, I am watching another retelling, this time on HBO, of The Staircase. The Anderson staircase murder. And it's got Toni Collette and some other people in it. It's really well done.
And it's on HBO?
That's on HBO. That's one of the new Sunday night shows.
The Staircase.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that, if you remember, because I don't feel bad about spoiling this one. This is, she falls down the stairs. It's an absolute brute. Whether she falls down the stairs or not is really up to you, ultimately to decide. But just blood everywhere, really gruesome. And you think maybe it could be an accident. Then you find out that 20 years earlier in Germany, his other wife also fell down the stairs and died. But then there's all sorts of politics involved. And maybe the craziest theory of all is that an owl flew into the house and attacked her on the stairs.
That is kind of crazy.
But there is enough evidence where you can be like, And the HBO show, I don't know if they did it on purpose or it just happened to be a sound thing. There is one that happens in the backyard, which I thought was fantastic.
Okay.
Because it's played serious, but I'm not even sure if they're going to bring out the owl defense. But that was on one of the many documentaries about the staircase that have taken place over the years.
Well, I finished Ozark. the last 7 episodes of the fourth season.
Right.
And the way I described it, if you saw my tweet, I'm relieved that it's over, and I'm numb to how I feel about it.
It's kind of a bummer.
But I'm glad I watched it. I'm glad it's over.
Yeah.
And one of the darker shows I've ever watched, with the least likable characters of anything I've ever watched in my life. I mean, there was nobody. There was one person that was likable, and he was probably in 7 episodes over 4 years for less than probably a combined total of 10 minutes of screen time.
Yikes.
So, yeah. And so they just didn't give him enough screen time, or you'd probably hate him too. But not likable. So I'm glad it's over with. But I'm excited about something I found today. It's on PBS. Lucy Worsley Investigates. And it's a historical series based upon British history of different things that happened over the years in the history of Great Britain. And tonight is The Princess in the Towers from the 1400s, where the 2 young princes are taken to the Tower of London and they never come out and they disappear and no one ever knows what happened to them. So she's investigating that tonight. So I am really looking forward to that as the premiere episode of this new series.
Nice. Oh, I have to give... I'm only a couple episodes in, but do you remember the people of Super Troopers, the Broken Lizard comedy crew?
No, I don't.
Well, Super Troopers was a very popular movie, late 2000s. And it was just a comedy troupe. I'm not sure where they're from. But they have a show on HBO. Well, it was originally on True TV, but it's on HBO right now called Tacoma PD. And it's a goofy show.
I've seen that advertised.
It's actually pretty enjoyable. It's like a goofy... If you're ready for just a goofy sitcom about firefighters, which I think is one they haven't really touched very much on television. I think they always have serious firefighter shows.
Yep.
But it's been enjoyable. Not super, there's a couple like giggle out loud, I wouldn't say laugh out loud moments, but especially if you enjoyed Super Troopers and that sort of humor, because that's, I think, their most famous film. But I think it's 3 seasons, there's about 40 episodes, so if you're craving something kind of goofy and funny, and you have HBO Max, there you go.
Okay. Any food?
Sadly, no. I mean, all the food I had this week, it was good with stuff I've mentioned on the show multiple times, so I don't really think,
Yeah, I took advantage of the Gold Belly 35% off lobster sale.
Lobster.
So Mom and I had lobster rolls from McLuhan's Lobster Shack, a place we went to when we were in Maine last summer. Tremendous lobster rolls. And, if you're in Maine, you're going to pay $25 to $30 for a lobster roll, and that's about what I get to pay after the sale, about $30 a lobster roll. They're outstanding.
And they taste pretty good, I assume, yes?
They taste outstanding.
Huh. I guess I should have assumed that was the price of a lobster roll, but I always figured a lobster roll would have been more like $12, $15.
Nope. Lobster roll big time. And they send you the New England split top buns. They send you sea salted butter to melt over your lobster roll or to toast your buns in. And the lobster, pound of lobster. That's it.
I'm still surprised. I know we can't find them here. We looked a couple times. The New England split roll, whether you're talking about hot dogs, sausages, lots of different sandwiches, is by far the superior way to eat the sandwich. You never find them anywhere outside of the Northeast.
Pepperidge Farm makes them.
I haven't seen them down here. I've looked a few times.
Pepperidge Farm makes them, but they're not that great.
Oh, okay. But yeah, if you're not sure what we're talking about, just Google lobster roll, and it's that roll, but it works great for, especially like a chili dog or something.
It's good for hot dogs, too.
Yeah, it's great.
All right, everybody, I got to sign off because I got to catch a plane to go to Phoenix.
All right. Enjoy Game 7.
Wish you enjoy all these, like we said last week, and we didn't let you down last week with how quality the games were, but enjoy these quality games today, and then hopefully this next series will live up to the hype of the last ones.
And hopefully you have a killer Game 7 to watch tonight, too.
Hopefully so.
Whether this is your first Game 7 or not.
Yes, that's true.